Hey guys, in this video, I want to give you 4 things that I've learned after years of applying black trim restoration products that'll save you a lot of time, a lot of money, and give you the results you want pretty much immediately. So for the sake of time, let me just tell you, most of the time I use a product called Solution Finish. Like I've said in other videos, there are other times when I use something like Cerakote, but for the sake of this video, because Solution Finish can be used on basically any black trim, let's just start with this one. The first tip that I have for you guys when you're applying black trim, which I recently did to a Land Cruiser that I detailed last week, is with regard to the sequence of when you apply the trim itself. So I always apply black trim either before I'm gonna polish and before I've done a surface prep on the exterior. So that means I've prepped the entire exterior in terms of washing, foaming it down, claying it, doing some iron decontamination, but I haven't yet done surface prep. Or if I'm just gonna do a basic exterior detail and I'm gonna apply the black trim, I'm going to apply the black trim after I've prepped and cleaned everything, but before I've put the final protection on the car. The reason that I do that with this particular product, Solution Finish, is because this product is going to get on the paint if you don't spend time taping it off, and there's no reason to tape off where the black trim is here because this product can get safely on glass, painted surfaces, all that sort of stuff, and it just wipes off. The reason why I really like this and I don't tape anything off and I do it in that particular sequence, in that area of the detail, is because if I'm doing it before I do a surface prep, I can apply this, pretty much immediately level it with a dry towel, and it's already in the black trim. It's already dyed the black trim. So I can take an IPA wash, I can take a surface prep, spray it on top of the area that I just finished with the Solution Finish, and it's not gonna pull any of that black off, right? It's already dyed. So it happens pretty much immediately. And so you guys can imagine if I do it in that sequence before I use a surface prep or before I use a final sealant, then everything is clean, I restore the black trim, and then I can easily take my surface prep to the entire thing and wipe the whole thing down, pulling up the excess kind of greasiness on the paint, rather than tediously trying to tape things off because I've already done my ceramic coating and I don't want to get this greasy stuff on it and put surface prep on a ceramic coating. And so it just makes so much sense to do it in that particular order of the detail. The second thing that I would suggest with this product is this is one of the areas in detailing where I would use more, not less. The reason why I like to use more, not less, and a little does not go a long way with a product like this is because when you use more, it's way easier to get in tight areas, particularly in areas like the black trim just below the windshield where the windshield wipers are. There's a lot of cracks and crevices and different designs of how manufacturers make that area. And if you just kind of soak the brush you're using or the towel you're using, then you can kind of just wipe it all on and wipe it all off and you don't miss any areas. If you're using a product like this and you're doing black trim with a bunch of little divots and different type of textured material, you will probably look back and see that you missed a lot of areas. It's best just to use more, and because this product is so inexpensive, it's easy to do that. Now the third thing I would say to keep in mind when you're restoring black trim is to communicate to your customer that faded pieces of black trim can be restored most of the time, but dents and bruises and scratches cannot. What often happens to detailers is they're restoring black trim and they email me and say, Luke, look at this picture of this black trim. See how this scratch still looks kind of faded or still looks kind of white? The reason is when you have an actual piece of black trim that is damaged, where the plastic has been frayed or it's been burned or it's been kind of melted or whatever, that is not going to be restored, and it's often not even going to kind of have that same uniform appearance where it almost gets dyed like the rest of the trim. It often stays the color it is. And you might think about it like this, you know, if you have kind of like a red sheet of plastic and you bend it, a lot of times you'll see that that plastic, when it's stretched or bent, kind of turns white, right? In a lot of ways, that is similar to certain scenarios with black trim where it's been stretched, dented, bruised. It's not going to be restored. It's not going to absorb and be dyed back the way the rest of it is, and you'll still see it after you've dyed back the rest of the trim. And the fourth thing that I would say when you're restoring black trim is really important is just to identify what kind of trim you're working on. In my world, I tend to divide black trim down a line. You have porous black trim and you have non-porous black trim. The non-porous black trim would be like the smooth black trim. A lot of times this is the type of black trim you see on like a Honda Odyssey in between the windows where it kind of lines the top of the door jamb. That's smooth black trim. This can actually be polished to be restored with a basic paint polish, but the reason I'm highlighting it is simply because the porous black trim, like you would find on the Land Cruiser that I'm detailing, is a lot easier to deal with just because it kind of absorbs the black trim restoration product like Solution Finish, and it doesn't require a lot of evening out or excess wiping at the end on your part. Whereas non-porous black trim, which is smoother to the touch, it's not quite as gritty, it's gonna require a lot more elbow grease at the end to make sure you get an even appearance, make sure you get up all of the excess, and kind of just evening out that black trim restoration product look, okay? A lot of times it'll be streaky if you don't get a totally dry towel at the end and spend a lot of time wiping it, kind of like you would with your second towel if you're removing a ceramic coating. That's how I would look at doing non-porous black trim. So guys, there you go, 4 quick things that'll make your life a lot easier with black trim, particularly if you're using Solution Finish. It's a really great product. There's a reason why it's one of the most popular in the detailing world. I will of course hook this up in the YouTube description box below for anybody interested in grabbing it, but that's gonna save you a lot of headache, a lot of time, and frankly, a lot of money going through a bunch of products that you just don't need to go through. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, make sure to dye that like button blue by putting a little love on this video just by clicking the thumbs up button, because it's the only way that I can see that you actually get value out of the content here. And as always, from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, thanks for being involved. Keep working hard, and I'll see you in the next video.